You know how computers started off really complicated to work with, but ironically, the more advanced they became, the more user friendly they got to be. Now, how advanced do you think nature is? Have you noticed how our bodies are doing almost everything automatically? We don't need to regulate our heartbeat by trying to focus on it, or tell our stomach juices to start working after we eat a meal. Basically, nature is so advanced that all we get to do is walk around and experience our planet, while nature takes care of everything else. Nature might be user friendly physically, but nature is even more user friendly mentally. Nature is making things very easy for us to realize when we get to the point we have to take a step forward and realize something new. Nature does this by making the truth easy to understand and easy to relate to, and by making all the alternatives to the truth very bizarre and insane. Of course, part of the process of growing means that for a short time everyone believes in the bizarre and insane theories. This is an example of how nice nature is, because the more insane these theories are, the easier it's going to be for all of us to spot the truth when it comes along. The reason crazy theories are accepted in the first place is because people are always trying to hammer the puzzle pieces to fit what they want to see. Take dark matter, for example. They weigh the universe and they realize that there's stuff we can't see. But because we see darkness, they say it's dark stuff we can't see. That's baby logic. The reason we can't see this stuff we can't see is because we see darkness instead of what's actually there. If the sun is on one side and the earth is on the other, all the space in between them needs to be bursting with light, because the light we have here is coming from there. It's like a flashlight, except there's no beam of light in between. Someone please do 1 plus 1 here. It's so obvious. The beam of light between us and the sun is there. It was always there. The stuff science is saying we can't see is not dark matter, it's bright matter. It's all light. And if we see darkness, we shouldn't find excuses for why that's okay, because science is saying it's not okay. At first, we said space is a vacuum, so light couldn't be reflected off the missing molecules. But science laughed in our face when we found out that space is full of molecules and atoms. But still, people didn't get the point, because we're always trying to explain why something is okay when it's not okay. We're trying to explain why space is dark when it's not dark. And can someone give a good explanation to why we see space as being dark when science is saying it's totally bright? It's the womb. Inside the womb, you see darkness when everything around you is actually bright. Wake up, people, it's a womb. It's just one more womb in a universe that's full of them. And it's the only natural explanation for everything. Now, of course, as long as the bizarre and crazy theories are the status quo, anything that comes along to counter those theories will be viewed itself as crazy and irrational. Luckily, all you have to do is put the false theories next to the truth, and the truth will devour the false theories. The only people who will insist that the false theories are real are the ones who've gotten so used to them they can't let go. Anyone who tells you that it's okay that a scientific theory doesn't feel right is gravely mistaken. The truth needs to feel right. This is our home after all. We are a thinking and feeling part of this planet. If something feels off, it probably is. And speaking of things that feel off, we have to remember that the whole situation we are in is off. Being inside the womb is an unnatural situation inside nature. So in a way, our lives themselves feel off. We see how people are unhappy and unsatisfied with what they have or what they do. So nothing feels right. This is why the explanation to this unnatural situation needs to feel right. It's the explanation that needs to whisper in our ears and make us understand why everything is not as it seems. It's realizing that our planet is a fetus inside the womb that will make us see why we are in a bad situation, surrounded in darkness, thinking that we're all alone, getting our life from an outside source. Isn't it the coolest thing that the unified theory can be summed up in one word? Womb. The womb explains everything without exception. Anything you think it fails to explain is because you're basing your argument on theories that were false to begin with. And yes, the unified theory needs to feel right. This is how user-friendly nature has to be. The truth can't be restricted to a few scientists sitting in a lab somewhere. The truth can only be the truth if all the people on this planet, without exception, have the basic capability of evaluating the truth for themselves. And what can be easier to understand than the womb? It's just a little bigger and a little slower than what we're used to, people. Don't make a fuss. Now let's take a look at the crazy theory you think is responsible for all the life you see around you. Tell me, do large explosions usually create stuff? From what we've seen so far? No? What usually creates stuff? Oh, it's the womb. Okay, then how did it come to be that we gave the credit of all life to the one thing that is the complete opposite? The one thing that annihilates life? How did we ever confuse the anti-life with life itself? The answer is so simple. You know how when baby chicks hatch from their egg, if the first thing they see is the farmer, they'll follow him around believing that he's their mommy. Well, on July 16th, 1945, we saw something. We saw something we've never seen before. On July 16th, 1945, something exploded in our face, and the only word we could utter in reply was, "Mommy?" It was only after the atom bomb went off for the first time that an otherwise bizarre and insane theory of a large explosion somehow giving life to all this became acceptable and reasonable. Can you see the irony? It's only when we became so crazy and insane to be able to pull the trigger on the ultimate devil that our whole view of reality in the universe became just as twisted. If you take the path of violence, hate, and destruction, you can do that. It's one of the perks of living in a free will universe. But don't think for 1 second there won't be consequences. You want to credit a large explosion with the making of this universe? No problem, you're allowed to do that. But don't be surprised when you wake up one morning realizing you're living in a lie. And that the lie is so strong, it will grab hold of you and it will do everything in its exploding power to never let you go, making you judge your reality through the twisted lens of a large explosion. You know why we love the large explosion theory so much? If a brainless explosion created me, then that means that nature is stupid. And if nature is stupid, then I can do whatever I want. I'll never have to pay for any of my actions, because it's a large explosion that created me. But don't be hard on yourself. You couldn't have known this, because nature is the one that put us in this situation in the first place. What happens when nature makes us think that nature is stupid? We no longer have that cloud over our head. We all act natural. We all show our true face. Making everyone believe that they're smarter than nature is the only way we show nature what kind of people we really are.